All right, we're on.
Okay.
All right, who wants to read question 3 for us? I got it.
All right.
I'll do question 3. So far, we have learned to evaluate business models of startups. Today, we will examine the business model decisions of a startup in a mature industry. As a group, begin by discussing the following questions. Was the VC industry attractive for A16Z to enter in 2009? What was the competition like at the time? What was the typical fate of the new entrants in this industry? Why was this so? What were the trends in VC fund performance during this time? All right, well, let's start with that first one. It wasn't necessarily attractive. It seemed like competition was, it seemed like just a few of the top tier firms kind of owned the industry. I think it said in there that the top 3% of firms gained 95% of the profits or something like that. So I would say that it wasn't too attractive.
See, I would actually disagree a little bit with that. I do agree that it was very top heavy, but one thing I thought that was kind of attractive was the fact that it sounded like no one was happy with like the current system and like how venture capitalists was like being lent. And so it seemed like it was primed for like disruption and to be reinvented. So I kind of thought, although it would have been really hard to break into, it seemed like it was kind of an outdated system.
I kind of wanted to reinvent it a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was a little bit attractive for them as well, just because of, a lot of people like look at tech startups and they're like, everything's already been done, but they were able to invest in, initially made their money off of Netscape, and then they started investing into whatever that SoundCloud or whatever it was called,
Yeah.
CloudCloud. And they started to see all these other tech companies starting to just pop up, and with their experience, because a lot of venture capitalists just have the money, but they don't necessarily have the specific experience in those industries, or they have people that work for them that know about it, but not necessarily your guys. But since they do have that experience, it was really kind of attractive for them to jump in and help out all these other tech companies get started up out of it at the same time. So
Yeah, definitely. Any other thoughts on that? Okay. All right, we'll move on. Let's see. With all the entrenched incumbents and catch-22s, what's silver lining? We kind of went over that.
Yeah, we kind of covered a lot of these.
Yeah, just the fact that it's kind of an outdated system, and not a lot of VCs had experience like they did.
Mm-hmm.
Why is A16Z targeting first time? Kind of talked about that too. They had a lot of success in the tech companies. So,
So I think we covered pretty much everything in question 3.
yeah, who wants to take on question 4 for us?
I can read it.
All right, go for it.
VC firms compete on their ability to source, pick, win. How does A16Z's business model influence these abilities compared to other VC firms? Okay. And then think of source as the ability to get founders to come in the door seeking money. how does the way a 16Z treats its founders differ from the way a traditional VC treats them? Will this increase, decrease, or have no effect on the number of potential deals A16Z sees compared to the competition? So the way they source, sorry. The way they source is different because they're looking to keep, the initial like founders of the company as the CEO and as the leader of the company, and not just replace them with some experienced CEO later on. They definitely want to keep the the people who were originally there with the vision to continue to build the company and not just jump in and take over because they're funding it. So that was one way that I found that they source differently. And then a lot of these startup companies to jump in there because they know that their idea is safe and they're not just going to get, booted out of it or anything. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think A16Z had a lot more to offer than just money. Every VC firm has money to offer, obviously, but it seemed like they offered more of a team of advisors and someone that understood these tech startup guys. So
yeah, they definitely, since they have the experience, they are able to give that help and that support rather than supplying them with money and then asking them why are things not going right or whatnot, and checking in every now and again. But they're kind of there as a, like you're saying, a support rather than just checkbook. So
absolutely.
All right, the next one. How will this change if A16Z begins to fire CEOs because they're not performing well? Will this increase, decrease, or have no effect on the number of potential deals A16Z sees compared to the competition? Obviously, it'll decrease if they start basically taking on the same strategies as other venture capitalist firms. Because that's what other people do. Is if the CEO seems inexperienced because he is, get rid of him. No one's going to want to go to them with their ideas. So we already kind of talked about that. Any other things to say about that?
Yeah, I just kind of agree with what you were saying there is how, by not doing those things is what differentiated themselves in the first place from the other firms, which led to their early success. And so if they start doing that, they're just going to turn into one of the companies that they were going against in the beginning. So I think it would hurt them.
Let's see. And then how does the operating team help A16Z source pick when? Does it increase the odds of getting more high quality deal flow? If so, why? Does it affect the A16Z's ability to pick winners? Does it actually have any impact on the odds of success for A16Z portfolio companies? If so, how? If not, why do you think that? What do you think, David?
Kind of like one of the things that I thought was pretty interesting when they talked about the deals they should pick was they don't do each deal as like kind of like the traditional companies would, where it's just strictly a deal. They would analyze a company based off of how good its strengths were. And I liked how it pointed out how like Facebook and some of these other companies, if they were originally evaluated, they had some pretty big weaknesses, but they also had tremendous upside. And I liked how it talked about how they focused on the upside of companies rather than necessarily picking them apart.
Yeah. That is a good operational technique for sure. Alrighty.
Do you want me to take number 5?
So,
Okay, number 5 says, put yourself in the shoes of Anderson and Horowitz. You must decide whether or not to seek to double your assets under management. Well, as a group, the decision must be unanimous. Consider the following as you decide. 1. How many portfolio companies can one general partner reasonably support? 2. Are there any economies of scale in this business? And 3. Will you have to hire more operating team people? If so, will the partners actually make more money for doubling their assets, or will all the additional profits go to hire more people? So the main question is whether or not we should seek to double our assets under management.
Yeah. Tough question. I would, not to risk, but I would probably vote for it. Just because I feel like if you're not finding ways to grow, you're dying anyways.
That's a good point. One of the things I thought about was that in their growth, they should focus on investing in different markets than just the IT, because they're in Silicon Valley and they could, I believe, with very little additional cost, also invest in the other 2 types of markets they talked about, the biotech market and the clean tech market, I think.
Do you think they should diversify rather than just expand in the IT market geographically?
I would definitely do that over geographical. I mean, I guess some of the problems of expanding geographically aren't as big nowadays because of internet, like us doing this Google Hangout. But if they expanded geographically, they'd have to either, fly out to meet potential companies, or they'd have to employ somebody in that region, where currently they have a contact base and a customer base there in Silicon Valley. If they just kept with that general idea, they already have the stump of their tree, and they just grew a couple more branches in essence, then it would only help grow the tree, where if they decide to expand out, it's kind of like building an orchard. You have to plant a tree, and that means you got to hike all that further to get to it, and you have to do all the additional taking care of that tree, if that analogy makes sense.
I personally, I'm not 100% either way, but I guess I'm more of the idea that if they figured out the tech industry in Silicon Valley, I think they have the ability to do it anywhere geographically, and kind of figure out any geographical location. Whereas going into a more diversified market could be a completely different animal to tackle. So that's just my thoughts on the 2 options.
Yeah, I'm not sure on whether or not they need to double their assets under management, but if they did decide to do that, I think they should just diversify into different industries and within tech, kind of like the green energy. Because one thing I remember reading was how they talked about expanding into new geographical regions would carry a little bit more risk with it. And I still think they're relatively young and small firm in the venture capital sphere. And so I don't know if that would be a little too much risk for kind of a smaller firm to be taking on or not.
That's a good point.
Another thought I had to go right along with that is if they expanded to different markets there in Silicon Valley, one, that other VC firms, the case that had been very successful at diversification, and two, if they diversified, it helps smooth out their fund performances since the valuations booms wouldn't be synchronized between the different markets. Where if all they had was IT across the globe, if the IT market went south, their whole fund portfolio would go south.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Fair point. All right. Any other thoughts? I guess we need to vote.
I guess my last thought about, I kind of like leaning towards the diversification, that they kind of branch out to other things. But I think I kind of mentioned this in the case, to be able to kind of keep that same, business model that they're kind of going for, to be able to just support these startups rather than just being a checkbook, would be to make sure that they bring on other, experts of those industries, and other experts of the tech industry, that they find the right pieces to be able to see those industries, so that they can also be a support to them as well. Because I feel like diversify without those correct pieces, they will just turn into just another venture capitalist firm.
All right, good points. So I guess I would vote in favor of doubling and diversifying. I don't know what that's what we're voting. I guess that's what we're voting on.
I'd agree with that assessment.
So,
All right.
Never mind the jacket, right? She's alive. The snake's dead.
All right. Well, I guess we can wrap it up now.
All right.
I guess. Very nice.
Guess we'll see you guys next Tuesday, and I'll email the link out.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. We'll see you guys.
Thank you. Next Tuesday.
Take it easy.
Oh, you're wasting my time.